The University of Chicago is famously home to the Manhattan Project, so perhaps it's fitting that the school is getting set to host a global summit on what to do about the current threat of nuclear war. Some of the brightest minds in the world come to Hyde Park next week for the Nobel Laureate Assembly for the Prevention of Nuclear War. And the school cites the need to come up with actions to prevent this current nuclear threat. It's vital to humanity's future, they say. Now, joining me is UChicago physics professor Daniel Holtz, who is also on the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, that comes up with that Doomsday Clock every year. Thanks, Professor Holtz, for being here. We'll talk about this event, but that Doomsday Clock, it's at 89 seconds to midnight. That's the closest it's ever been to Doomsday. How come?
Yeah, there are a bunch of reasons, and none of them will come as a surprise to viewers. Of course, nuclear war is a big one. There are lots of indications that the threat of nuclear war is increasing, that there's a real risk. But there's also climate change, which continues unchecked. We've just come off two of the hottest years on record, back to back. Now we've also got AI. Of course, we've seen what a pandemic can do, and there could be much worse pandemics in store. And on all these issues, things are getting worse, not better. And so the clock is where it is.
We know in the nuclear world, President Trump recently bombed Iranian nuclear sites out of fear that they were enriching uranium to build a nuclear weapon. As a scientist, physicist, what can you tell us about what that bombing might have accomplished? Can Iran still have the capacity to build a nuclear weapon?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, and a lot of people are asking that question. There's a lot of uncertainty, and uncertainty is part of what makes me personally particularly nervous. For example, we don't know what's happened to some of the highly enriched uranium. We don't know what this bodes for the future, and there is certainly a possibility that this increases the risk of nuclear war. And that's what I'm particularly focused on, is how does this interact with the rest of the world? And we don't know.
And you are convening an assembly of Nobel laureates here at UChicago. What is it that you're going to be discussing?
So this meeting is focused on the threat of nuclear war. And so it's trying to kind of wrestle with that threat and understand it, and especially try to think about ways to address the threat. How do we mitigate it? How do we make things safer for all of us? How do we reduce the likelihood that we either stumble into a nuclear apocalypse?
And short of electing leaders that are stable, what can we do?
Yeah, I mean, so there are lots of sort of common sense things that we think are likely to help. I mean, one thing I would emphasize is the world is really unstable. There's a lot of things going on that are surprising at the moment and kind of unprecedented. And that's, of course, very scary. And it increases the risk that a nuclear war could happen at any moment in all these different regions. I mean, we've talked to Russia and Ukraine. Yeah. There's the Middle East, Iran. There's India and Pakistan, just came off a hot war, and both of them, of course, are nuclear states. So there are lots of things to be worried about. But because of this instability, there may also be unique opportunities. It feels like maybe there's opportunities to make real progress on some of these nuclear threats. And so the hope is bringing all these people together and really focusing on this topic. Maybe we'll be able to come up with solutions. And we won't know until the end of next week what we come up with, but I think there's already some indications of steps that can be taken that are in everyone's interest, that make the entire world safer.
So you get a bunch of Nobel laureates in the same room. They're liable to come up with something. This is going to be a fascinating event. Next week at UChicago, we'll try to have some more information on that on our website. Professor Hertz, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, coming up next, got a coach house or attic you want to rent out? We will tell you what the city is planning to do about it right when we come back.